Lynae has been out for a while now, and since I've had the chance to test her out more extensively, I thought I'd deliver my more fleshed out thoughts on the character, and evaluate whether my pre-release pros and cons were accurate or not. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. To kick things off, I want to quickly say I hope you had a wonderful, jolly season, I hope you had a really good Christmas, and I hope you just had the best time ever recently, and I hope that the wait to New Year's is going to be a very merry one. I personally had a great Christmas, I'm in a very good mood right now, and I'm wishing you a positive day, and I hope you got everything you wanted for Christmas. Okay, so, one of the first things I mentioned is that she would have excellent flexibility. Yes, this is 100% true. This very much ended up being the case on my account. Basically, any non-negative status DPS has been able to use this character on my account and use it well. This means that if you didn't pull a specific teammate for certain characters, you're still able to play them in a unique way. For example, I don't have Lupa, however, I can still play DPS Brent with Lynae, and it's not even that bad. It's obviously not as good as it would be if I had Lupa and just played Triple Fusion, but it's still a very good team. And then, there's also Yuno. I didn't pull for Shakona, nor do I have Yinlin, so I wasn't really able to play DPS Yuno even if I had interest in the team at the time. However, now that I have Lynae, I'm able to play it. And it's actually really strong, as in, can clear middle tower 3 and 4 levels of strong. And she even ended up being an upscale for my Cho Yuen, so even he is clearing even faster now. Basically, everybody on my account got an upscale, and I believe that it's going to be the same for basically anybody that pulls for her. Also, now that we finally have this character's outro skill and we're more aware of what her abilities do officially, we now know who her best partners are that you should pull this character for if you main them. Yuno, she is 100% a Yuno DPS upscale. Yes, she's actually better than the previous DPS Yuno team. Not to mention how Mornye is eventually going to be another upscale to it. Shangli Yao, I do want to emphasize this does not suddenly make him a really strong and amazing DPS, but it is still an upscale to the character, so if you're really dedicated to playing the guy, then yes, she is a very good pull for him. And there's also Kalcharo. I will say, bear in mind, once again, it's not suddenly gonna make Kalcharo meta, but it is gonna help him. But don't limit yourself to only using this character with Resonance Liberation users. Her own Liberation is able to increase the damage of all Resonators in the team by up to 24%. That is a very universal buff. Not to mention that while her signature weapon is indeed good and it does have a team-wide buffing passive, you can also just use Static Miss, and that is going to be buffing your first slot teammate's attack. And basically every character that Lynae works with uses attack. We do have an HP scaler in Cardathea, however, you're not going to be playing this character with Cardathea because she's negative status, and that is the one archetype where this unit does not have synergy. So, her flexibility is so very much there. I really cannot recommend her enough to literally any type of player for this exact reason, and it has been a blast to play this character with so many different characters on my account, let me tell you. And that's the thing, she's best in slot for numerous units, not just the characters that are able to deal damage through their liberation. No, would you believe me if I said that the Silly Painter Jojo has officially been kicked out of the meta because now you would rather just use Lynae instead? Yes, she is actually better. And there are other cases too, like Absolution Phoebe. If you want the highest damage possible out of her, you stake Lynae as her second slot. Yeah. So generally, this character is not only extremely effectively versatile, but she is best in slot for so many units. And you need to consider, this is pre-Mornye. I'm gonna touch on that more a little bit later. But for now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the fact that she's gonna be Toon Break investment. And what this means is that now we don't have a Toon Break DPS, but later on, it is likely that we're going to get more and more characters that have synergy with the Toon Break mechanic. So, not only is this character an absolute meta behemoth right now, but down the line when we eventually get a Toon Break dedicated DPS, or at least at some stage we might get a DPS that synergizes more with Toon Break compared to the other characters, Lynae is definitely going to be that unit's best in slot. And to be fair, considering that every character in the game is able to use Toon Break, it's not an exclusive ability, it's not unrealistic that most characters from here on out are going to have some kind of synergy with it, at least during 3.0, even if their kits aren't centric around Toon Break. So, just know that not only is she a really good general support, but she is going to be amazing investment into the complete Tomb Break team later down the line. And it should be noted now that she is going to improve very soon. I said this before, and I'm going to reinforce it now that we've seen her true strength in-game. She is going to get better soon. Her own damage right now, it's pretty decent. Mornye is going to be able to improve her personal damage even more though. And once we get the complete Lynae Mornye core, dude, you're going to have a team core that is going to be able to work with basically any non-negative status DPS. That is absolutely busted. That is going to be absolutely fantastic. So not only is she really good as it stands, but she is going to be even better once Mornye comes out. If you're not able to get Mornye, that's not a problem because she's already crazy as is. But if you are able to, well then enjoy another upscale in roughly about 3 weeks from now. And I also already mentioned how her value is only going to increase even more when we eventually get a Tomb Break dedicated DPS. Another thing, like I mentioned earlier, is that she can run Static Mist, and the reason why this is relevant is because her signature weapon isn't really that high value. It is a good signature weapon, it does have a substantial increase, but it's not really enough of an increase to justify pulling a support weapon. Second slot teammate weapons can be worth it at times, but I would say this is one of those times where you can honestly just pass on it, especially considering how good Static Mist is, so I would just stick to using that. There is also the brand new pistol, but that one isn't really supportive as much as it's made for personal damage, so I'm mostly focusing on Static Mist here. But the point stands that you don't really have to invest into her signature weapon either. So all around, this character has ended up feeling extremely strong at a really budget-friendly level. Pro Games is crazy for this one. As for her flaws, it is true that she just doesn't really help negative status DPSs. There's not really much that you can do about that, unfortunately. You need a negative status applicant in order for negative status DPSs to feel strong. And there is Shakona running on the current banner now with Cardathea, so I would say that people that are pulling for Cardathea now are in a better position compared to people that were pulling her on her release that didn't manage to get Shakona before, so there is that. But all around, it just doesn't really mean anything for Lynae. She's not going to be able to help the team in any sort of way. She's not going to be able to help Zani in any sort of way. The only realistic situation in which I can see you using it is if you have Spectra Rover in the back, and then you have Lynae as a second slot for Zani, or you have Air Rover in the back, and then Lynae as a second slot for Cardathea. But even then, it's just not really going to be that good. The main negative here isn't really that this makes the character not worth pulling for anymore, because she's still going to be worth pulling. You're going to have other teams. It's more so just unfortunate because everybody in the community is experiencing a damage upscale, or at least a new option for their main character, except for the negative status mains. So I would say don't expect this character to massively change your gameplay loop if you mostly just play the negative status characters, but I will say that she's still worth pulling for your other characters. Another thing that I mentioned is that she ideally wants Mornye. I mean, sure, she's definitely gonna get an upscale from her, but I don't really think this is that relevant when you consider that she's already as strong as she is. It's more of a nitpick point if anything else. She is going to have higher max potential soon, but even if you're not tapping into that potential, she is still going to be obscenely strong as is. So I wouldn't really sweat it too much if you're not able to get Mornye. I do recommend that you get her, because whenever we get closer to Mornye's time, I will definitely be talking about how strong she is too. But all around, even if she is going to be experiencing a boost from that, I wouldn't really worry about it too much. I'll phrase it like this. The more unfortunate thing is the fact that Lynae's own S1 and her own R1 just aren't really that worth it. So the best possible thing you can do if you really want to upscale the character is pull for Mornye. Now you can also get her S2, but I would personally rather recommend that you save that level of investment for a main DPS instead. She is a very universal support, so this is a situation where getting the S2 isn't even that bad of an idea, but I wouldn't prioritize it over a good DPS S2. So, because of that, I would say that the real flaw here is just that her high asteroids-based investment isn't really the best, but generally that just makes her really budget-friendly, and because we are getting Mornye, I wouldn't really sweat it too much. If you're looking to do that in the first place, just pull from Mornye and you'll be fine. Her weapon is still good, by the way, it's just not that worth it. But if she's your favorite character and you end up getting her weapon, that's not a bad thing to do or anything like that. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Where do I currently think that Lynae stands in the meta? Well, she is an S+ tier pull. She is right up there with Shorekeeper, with being one of the best pulls you can make in the game. I do still think that Shorekeeper's pull value might be arguably just a little bit higher, simply because she is able to fit into those negative status teams, And while she is best in slot for many different units like Yuno, Carlotta, Calcharo, Shining Liao, I believe that for other characters that she's able to work with like Galbrina, Augusta, these other meta behemoths, we're gonna have to wait for Mornye to see how big the upscale is going to be. So we'll see what it looks like when the team core is complete. But at least on her own, as it currently stands, she is still definitely an S tier character, a little bit below Shorekeeper, and it's definitely the type of pull that I can recommend basically anyone to make. They literally made a Shorekeeper-esque character in terms of value for the second slot. That is ridiculously valuable. So, I highly recommend her. Very, very much so. Hopefully this video was able to tell you my thoughts on Lynae now that we've had her out for a while. This has been Juice, signing out, and I hope that you have fun on your way to New Year's with your new Lynae.